The Grand Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the usual cacophony of translated mumblings, gravitational adjustments, and the occasional methane expulsion from the Jovian delegates. Another day, another dramatic declaration of superiority from some species that thought they'd discovered the secret to universal dominance. Today's entertainment came courtesy of the Krex, a species that looked like someone had tried to crossbreed a mountain with a bodybuilder and then gave up halfway through. Their representative, High Commander Zox, stood at the central podium, his crystalline structure gleaming under the chamber's lights as he quite literally flexed his silicon-based muscles. For 12 cycles, the Krex have remained undefeated in the trials of dominance. His voice boomed through the translation matrix, causing several of the more sensitive species to adjust their auditory dampeners. Our natural crystalline structure makes us impervious to most forms of damage. Our strength is unmatched, our intelligence beyond question. A collective eye roll rippled through the chamber, or at least the equivalent gesture from species that had eyes. The gaseous collective from Nexus 7 simply swirled their clouds in a particularly sarcastic pattern. "The challenge system exists for a reason," droned Council Elder Vix, her tentacles waving in what could only be described as bureaucratic boredom. "If you wish to maintain your status as the galaxy's strongest species, you must accept all challenges. Those are the rules." High Commander Zox's crystalline form sparkled with what could only be described as smugness. "Of course, we welcome all challenges. In fact, we insist upon it. Let the galaxy witness again the superiority of the Krex." The Council's Grand Archive projected a holographic display of the Krex's previous victories. 12 cycles of challenges reduced to various states of defeat, some metaphorically licking their wounds, others literally regenerating lost limbs. The Krex's method of victory was as subtle as a supernova, overwhelming force applied with all the finesse of a quantum hammer. Would any species dare to challenge the might of the Krex? Zox's challenge echoed through the chamber. Or shall we simply acknowledge our continued supremacy and— The chamber doors slid open with a hydraulic hiss that somehow managed to sound sarcastic. A figure strolled in, dressed in what appeared to be, to the horror of the more formally inclined species' casual wear. The being's soft, pinkish exterior looked about as threatening as a solar breeze. "Oh, good. I haven't missed the sign-up sheet," the human said, casually munching on something the translator identified as a protein bar. "Where do I put my name down for these trials?" The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of the human's wrapper being crumpled and stuffed into a pocket. Because of course they'd save it for proper disposal later. Even when preparing to potentially face death, humans remained oddly conscientious about littering. The human's casual stride toward the central podium seemed to personally offend every one of High Commander Zox's crystalline facets. The council chamber's artificial gravity couldn't quite mask the tremors of his heavy steps as he turned to face this unexpected challenger. "You? A human?" Zox's translator struggled to convey the right mixture of disbelief and disdain. "Your species barely survived its own industrial revolution. You still haven't figured out how to stop hitting yourself with hurricanes." The human shrugged, pulling out another protein bar. "Yeah, well, you win some, you lose some. Speaking of winning." They gestured vaguely at the registration terminal. "Can we speed this up? I've got a documentary about penguins downloading back on my ship." Elder Vix's tentacles curled in what might have been amusement. The registration process requires full biological data, species history, and acknowledgement of the considerable risks. "Done," the human interrupted, having somehow completed the entire registration while everyone was talking. The holographic display confirmed their entry. Representative of Earth, Human Space Confederation. Zox's crystalline form vibrated with what might have been laughter or rage. It was hard to tell with silicon-based life forms. "You understand, soft one, that the trials of dominance have left stronger species than yours as cautionary tales in the Grand Archive." The human pulled out a small device that several species recognized as an antiquated smartphone and started typing. "Uh-huh. Just updating my social media. About to compete in Space Olympics against angry crystal people. My followers are going to love this." Several council members exchanged worried glances. The last time a human had described something as going to be loved by followers, 3 solar systems had to be reimagined as modern art installations. "The trials begin at dawn," Elder Vix announced, her tentacles signing the official documents. "May the strongest species prevail." "Cool," the human responded, already heading for the exit. "Quick question. Is there a coffee shop around here? No? Guess I'll have to make do with the emergency espresso machine in my suit." The chamber doors closed behind them, leaving a stunned silence and the faint smell of roasted coffee beans, a scent that would soon become associated with impending doom throughout the galaxy. The trial arena sprawled across an artificial planetoid, its environment-controlled domes gleaming under the light of 3 artificial suns. The human arrived precisely on time, which somehow managed to annoy the Kreks more than if they had been late. "The trials of dominance," Elder Vix's voice echoed through the arena, "have existed since the founding of the Galactic Council. They consist of 5 challenges, each testing different aspects of species superiority." The human nodded, doing what appeared to be stretching exercises while simultaneously attempting to drink from something labelled "triple shot espresso, heart attack in a can." High Commander Zox took over the explanation, his crystalline form casting rainbow reflections across the arena. "First, the trial of pure strength, where you will attempt to move an immovable object created from neutron star matter." "Neat," the human commented, checking what appeared to be a primitive wrist device. "Getting my steps in today." "Second, the trial of endurance, surviving in the void chamber for 1 complete rotation." "Oh, good. Like a spa day." "Third, the trial of mind, solving the quantum paradox maze." "I did the daily Wordle this morning, so I'm warmed up." "Fourth, the environmental gauntlet facing extreme conditions from across the galaxy." "Sounds like Tuesday in Florida." "And finally," Zox's voice crescendoed, "the trial of composite skills, where all previous challenges combine into one ultimate test." "Cool. Is there a lunch break? I packed sandwiches." The gathered audience of various species murmured in a mixture of amusement and concern. In the diplomatic section, several ambassadors were already drafting contingency treaties. Elder Vix raised all 4 of her tentacles for silence. "The rules are simple. Complete each trial or admit defeat. Victory in 3 out of 5 trials claims the title of strongest species." "Any prohibitions?" the human asked, rummaging through what looked like a battered backpack. "Only natural biological abilities and basic environmental protection are allowed," Zox declared smugly. "No weapons, no advanced technology, no external assistance." "Gotcha. So my crossword puzzle book is fine for the waiting periods?" A Krek scientist approached, scanning the human with various instruments. "Fascinating. Their bone density is barely above that of solidified carbon. Their muscles are protein-based and liquid-filled. Their only protection appears to be—" He paused, baffled. "Cotton blend fabric. The human appears to be wearing something called a gym outfit and running shoes," another scientist added, sounding personally offended by the casualness. High Commander Zox's crystalline face somehow managed to smirk. "Last chance to withdraw, soft one. We would understand. After all, facing the strongest species in the galaxy with nothing but—" He gestured vaguely at the human's attire. "Whatever that is, would be considered suicidal by most rational beings." The human finished tying their shoelaces and stood up. "Thanks for the concern, but I'm good. Quick question, though. Are we allowed to play music during the trials? Because I've got this really great playlist called Songs to Prove Alien Life Forms Wrong By." The gathered dignitaries watched in horror as the human pulled out wireless earbuds. In the diplomatic section, someone began drafting a galactic peace treaty, just in case. Trial of Pure Strength began with the unveiling of a cube of neutron star matter, roughly the size of a cargo container. High Commander Zox demonstrated by easily lifting it above his crystalline head, his silicon-based muscles barely straining. "Your turn, soft one," he chuckled, setting down the cube with a ground-shaking thud. Try not to break anything important like yourself. The human circled the cube, examining it from all angles while humming what their device identified as Eye of the Tiger. After a complete circuit, they stopped and grinned. Quick physics question. This cube has a constant mass, right? Regardless of its position. The Krex scientists nodded cautiously. Perfect. The human braced themselves against one edge of the cube and began to push. Not up, as Zox had done, but sideways. On the perfectly smooth arena floor, the cube began to slide with surprisingly little resistance. What is this trickery? Zox demanded. We call it friction reduction and mechanical advantage, the human explained, now casually pushing the cube around like an oversized shopping cart. Also, your gravity generators are pretty consistent, which helps. Want me to write Krex rules with it? I'm thinking block letters. The first trial ended with the human having rearranged several neutron star matter cubes into a crude, smiley face. The void chamber for the trial of endurance was designed to test species limits through exposure to near-vacuum conditions. The human entered wearing what they called a vintage spacesuit that looked like it belonged in a museum. Is that held together with duct tape? One of the observers asked in horror. Some of it, the human replied cheerfully. The rest is mostly hope and WD-40. Hours passed. While Zox stood stoically in his environmental field, the human turned the chamber into what they called a zero-G dance party, complete with air guitar solos. How are they maintaining such energy levels? A Krex scientist wondered, watching the human attempt something called the worm in zero gravity. According to these readings, another replied, they're running on a combination of caffeine, adrenaline, and something called spite. The second trial ended with the human teaching several maintenance droids how to do the Macarena. The quantum paradox. Maze for the trial of mind presented itself as a labyrinth of shifting probabilities and quantum uncertainties. Participants had to navigate through by solving complex quantum mechanical problems. The humans stared at the entrance for exactly 3.7 seconds before pulling out their ancient smartphone. What are you doing? Zox demanded. Checking Wikipedia, they replied. Also, did you know this maze's quantum structure is pretty similar to a game called Portal, except, with more existential uncertainty? What followed was either brilliant problem-solving or the most elegant form of cheating the galaxy had ever witnessed. The human treated the quantum uncertainties like a speed run, exploiting probability loops, and even managing to order a pizza through a temporary quantum tunnel. This is impossible, a Krex scientist exclaimed. They're solving quantum equations through pattern recognition from video games. And common sense, the human added, taking a bite of their quantum-tunneled pizza. You'd be surprised how similar quantum physics is to trying to figure out what's still edible in a college student's fridge. It's all about probability and educated guesses. They completed the maze in record time, leaving behind a trail of solved paradoxes and empty pizza boxes that simultaneously existed and didn't exist. Elder Vix's tentacles twisted in what might have been a headache. 3 trials completed, all technically passed. Great, the human beamed. Quick question before the next trial. Anyone want to join my Quantum Maze speedrunning Discord server? I'm thinking of making this a weekly thing. In the diplomatic section, several species began drafting formal apologies for having ever doubted humanity's capabilities. One representative was already designing Team Human merchandise. High Commander Zox's crystalline form had developed several stress fractures. This proves nothing. The real challenges are yet to come. Cool, the human responded, already setting up what they called a live stream of the remaining trials. I'm thinking of calling this video Crystal Clear Victory. Because you're made of crystals. No? Tough crowd. The environmental gauntlet arena morphed into a series of interconnected chambers, each simulating the most extreme conditions found in the galaxy. High Commander Zox's crystal form gleamed with renewed confidence. Each chamber represents a lethal environment, he announced. "From the acid storms of Nexus 9 to the plasma winds of the Forge worlds. No single species has ever survived all environments. Except the Kreks, of course." The human was busy applying what appeared to be sunscreen. "Neat. Kind of like a weather tour. Quick question. Do you have anything worse than Australian summer? Because that's my baseline for uncomfortable." The first chamber unleashed acid rain, capable of dissolving reinforced steel. The human simply opened what they called an umbrella and strolled through, occasionally checking their phone for weather updates. Is that a Hello Kitty pattern?" one of the scientific observers asked, watching the acid droplets roll harmlessly off the fabric. "Limited edition," the human confirmed, "also waterproof, and apparently acid-proof. Who knew?" The plasma wind chamber glowed with the intensity of a small sun. The human emerged looking slightly tanned, wearing what they called beach wear, and complaining that they should have brought sunglasses. "The temperature was equivalent to the surface of a star," a Krek scientist protested. "Yeah? But have you ever been to Phoenix in July?" The crushing pressure chamber, designed to simulate the depths of gas giant cores, proved equally ineffective. The human did what they called yoga poses while the pressure increased, claiming it was great for their back problems. By the time they reached the absolute zero chamber, the observing scientists had developed various nervous tics. The human survived by performing what they called jumping jacks and telling jokes about frozen computers. "This is unprecedented," Elder Vix declared, her tentacles twitching in agitation. "The human is not merely surviving these environments, they appear to be enjoying them." High Commander Zox's crystalline structure had developed several new stress fractures. "Impossible! They must be using hidden technology." The human emerged from the final chamber, which combined all previous conditions, looking mildly inconvenienced and checking their fitness tracker. "Well, that was refreshing," they announced. "Got my cardio in for the day, though I have to say, your acid rain is a bit weak compared to Los Angeles smog." The scientific committee huddled in panic, reviewing their data. One of them was muttering something about rewriting all known laws of environmental adaptation. Another had started a research paper titled, "Human Survivability. Why even bother trying to kill them?" "How?" Zox demanded. "How did your species become so adaptable?" The human shrugged, pulling out a water bottle. "When you live on a death world that actively tries to kill you with everything from weather to wildlife, you either adapt or invest in really good insurance. We did both." In the diplomatic section, several species were urgently updating their files on Earth from mostly harmless to do not provoke under any circumstances. "Final trials up next, right?" the human asked, checking their watch. "Perfect timing. My live stream viewers are loving this. We're trending on Galactic Talk." The final trial arena transformed into a massive obstacle course that seemed to defy physics itself. Quantum anomalies swirled around floating platforms of neutron star matter, while environmental hazards from every known lethal world created a symphony of certain death. High Commander Zox stood at the entrance, his crystalline form pulsing with determination. The combined challenge requires participants to navigate through all previous trials simultaneously while reaching the summit of victory. He gestured toward a distant platform floating in a maelstrom of cosmic chaos. "First, to plant their species' flag claims ultimate victory." The human was doing pre-trial stretches while watching something on their phone. "Cool course. Reminds me of that one Mario level. You know, minus the mushrooms and plus the possibility of quantum dissolution." "This is no game," Zox thundered. "This is the ultimate test of species superiority." "Everything's a game if you're having fun," the human replied, pulling something from their backpack. "Also, quick question rules said no weapons or advanced tech, but they didn't say anything about snacks, right?" Before anyone could respond, a klaxon sounded. Zox launched himself into the course, his crystalline form perfectly adapted for the challenges ahead. The human opened a bag of chips. "What are they doing?" Elder Vix demanded, all tentacles twisted in confusion. The human carefully placed different snacks at various points along their planned route. Energy bars, bottles of water, and something called emergency chocolate created a trail through the obstacle course. Motivation, they explained to the baffled observers. Also, proper nutrition is important during exercise. What followed was either the most brilliant or most ridiculous display of problem-solving the galaxy had ever witnessed. While Zox powered through each obstacle with brute force and crystalline resilience, the human turned the entire course into what they called a parkour speedrun with snack breaks. They used the quantum anomalies as impromptu shortcuts, surfed on waves of plasma using their reinforced umbrella as a makeshift board, and at one point created a makeshift pulley system using their shoelaces and a convenient neutron matter block. "This defies all known laws of physics," a scientist screamed. "Nah," the human called back, swinging past on their makeshift pulley. "This is just Tuesday at the rock climbing gym, though the quantum stuff adds a nice twist." Zox reached the final stretch first, his crystalline body showing signs of strain but still pushing forward. Victory seemed certain until the human deployed their master strategy. They opened their last bag of chips. The sound echoed through the arena. Zox turned, distracted by the crunching noise. "What is that smell?" "Salt and vinegar chips," the human answered, munching casually while hanging upside down from a quantum uncertainty field. "Want some?" What, is that sodium chloride?" Zox's crystalline form vibrated with interest. "Yeah, plus some vinegar powder. Great electrolyte replacement. Here, catch." The bag sailed through the air in a perfect arc. Zox, operating on instinct honed by 12 cycles of undefeated combat, caught it. His crystalline hands automatically analyzed the contents. "This is pure sodium chloride, in perfect crystalline form," he mumbled, mesmerized by the simple yet perfect molecular structure. While Zox stood transfixed by the snack food, the human casually made their way to the summit of victory, planted the Earth flag, which featured a picture of a cat wearing sunglasses, and took a selfie. "And that's game," they announced, already posting to their social media. "Thanks for the workout. Although I think I need to adjust my macro intake, quantum jumping really burns the calories." The arena fell silent, except for the sound of Zox contentedly munching on chips. Elder Vix's tentacles drooped in disbelief. The human won, using snack food. "To be fair," the human said, climbing down while checking their fitness app, "I also used physics, problem solving, and that thing where humans get really stubborn when someone says we can't do something. But yeah, the chips were clutch." The scientific committee was in chaos. 3 members had started a research project on human snack food as a potential peacekeeping tool. Another was writing a thesis titled "The Strategic Application of Sodium-Based Warfare." "Actually," the human added, reaching into their seemingly bottomless backpack, "I brought enough for everyone. Who wants to try something called Flamin' Hot Cheetos?" What followed was either the galaxy's first interspecies snack party or the beginning of a new era in diplomatic relations, depending on who you asked. High Commander Zox, still crunching on chips, had to be reminded several times that he had technically lost his title as strongest species. "Worth it," he declared, reaching for another bag. "Though we demand the recipe for these chips as part of our surrender terms." The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened amidst a scatter of empty chip bags and snack wrappers. Elder Vix's tentacles were still stained with cheese dust as she called the meeting to order. "We must discuss the humans' victory," she announced, "and more importantly, their preparation methods." The humans sat in the witness chair, still in their gym clothes, scrolling through what they called viral highlights of their victory. "Tell us," a council member demanded, "how long did you train for these trials?" "Train?" The human looked up from their phone. "Oh, you mean like preparation?" "Well, I go to the gym 3 times a week, do rock climbing on weekends, and sometimes take hot yoga classes when my schedule permits." Silence fell across the chamber. "But the quantum physics solutions," another member stuttered. "Oh, that. Video games mostly. Plus, you know how Earth's quantum physics professors love making everything into puzzle games for their students? Really helps with practical applications. High Commander Zox, now sporting a Human Victory Tour t-shirt, leaned forward. And the environmental adaptations? Listen, when you grow up on a planet where the weather can go from scorching to freezing in one day, and everything from the sunshine to the local wildlife is trying to kill you, you either adapt or become really good at complaining. We chose both. The Council's scientific committee presented their findings. According to our research, humans prepare for everything and nothing simultaneously. They turn deadly serious challenges into games, approach lethal situations with casual competence, and apparently consider snack breaks a valid tactical advantage. Also, added another scientist, their primary motivation appears to be a mixture of spite, curiosity, and, for the memes, concepts we're still struggling to fully translate. Elder Vix's tentacles curled thoughtfully. And what do humans plan to do with their new status as the galaxy's strongest species? The human finally looked up from their phone. Oh, right. Nearly forgot about that. Well, first things first. Who's up for starting an intergalactic Olympic Games? I'm thinking competitive quantum parkour could be huge. The council chamber erupted in both terror and excitement. Several species immediately began training regimens, while others started designing merchandise for the proposed games. Meanwhile, the human had already created a social media account called Galactic Games that was gaining followers faster than a quantum particle could shift states. One standard galactic month later, the council chamber had undergone some interesting changes. A snack bar had been installed in one corner. The formal seating had been replaced with what humans called ergonomic gaming chairs. Even the Jovian delegates had started wearing Earth-style workout gear. The galaxy will never be the same, Elder Vix mused, her tentacles wrapped around a protein shake. Humanity's influence spreads faster than a quantum virus. The human representative, now appointed as Chief Fun Officer of the Galactic Council, was teaching a group of crystalline Krex warriors something called breakdancing. You know, they said casually, helping a Krex perform a backflip. Earth has lots of other cool stuff too. Extreme sports, competitive cooking shows, musical chairs. Several species visibly shuddered at the implications. The last thing the galaxy needed was more human recreational activities that somehow doubled as survival training. Is that a threat? Someone asked nervously. Nah, the human grinned. Just an invitation. By the way, has anyone here heard of something called parkour? High Commander Zox, now a certified yoga instructor, looked up from his meditation. Should we be worried? Only if you're not having fun, the human replied, pulling out their phone. Oh, and one more thing. Earth just voted to host the first intergalactic games. We're thinking of starting with something simple like obstacle course racing through active volcanoes. You know, for beginners. The galaxy would never be quite the same. But at least it would be entertaining. And somewhere on Earth, a group of humans was already planning the next big thing. Extreme quantum baking championships, featuring physics-defying soufflés and time-displaced desserts. The universe didn't stand a chance.